Yo YouTube, this is my video for yesterday, which was Monday the 28th of October. Unfortunately, at this time of year, by the time I finish my day, it's too dark to record the video. But on the positive side, now that I can do a bit of video editing, I can just put clips together. So I might try a different style where I just do clips throughout the day. Although that will add work to this, and I don't necessarily want to add work, so I'm not sure quite what to do. At the moment, I'm just doing it the following day on my way to dialysis. So actually, it might end up being the same trip almost every video now. I'll think of something else to do anyway. So yesterday, I had nothing booked in the morning. I had a call on a bid that I made at 7:37, just picking up from Peterborough and delivering to Oakham, and then three additional stops to Cambridge. And I wasn't quite sure how to quote on that. It was 90 loaded miles, 90, and I ended up doing £1 a mile for that, plus £10 for the 3 additional stops. So that came to £120 in the end. And even then, when I put the bid on, I wasn't sure if that was good, low or high. Well, no, I didn't think it was high. I thought it was definitely not too high, but I thought it might be a bit too low still. And the reason why I thought that is I don't know how long it's going to take me to do the stops in Cambridge. So it was a bit of an experiment to see how it would go. The pickup point was for 8:25. I got the call at 7:37 and they said, what time can you get there for? And I said, give me 45 minutes and then I'd be there, and they were fine with that. So I got myself ready, left the house at 7:45, and I arrived on site at 8:20, so 5 minutes early. It's a site that I've been to before, so I know where to go and the process. And so I went to the office, I explained what I was there for. I didn't have a reference number, which I thought I should probably have. So on my way over, I called the shipper and asked them, do you have a reference number? And they said that the person that had ordered it knew about this, so if I had any problems, just ask for that person. So I sort of covered the slight anxiety I had about getting there and them saying, what are you here for? I mean, not knowing. So I arrived on site, and they did know what I was there for, and then they were preparing the paperwork, and then they said they wanted to add on another stop. So I said, that's fine. And I thought, well, just accept this, because there's no point in me saying umming and ahhing at this point. Then I'll talk to the shipper when I sort of get back in my van. But I had a call from the shipper about a minute later saying they've added on another stop. How much would you like to add on for us? So I said £15 please, and they agreed to that. So I was now getting £135 for 5 total stops. And the other stop was in Cambridge, so it wasn't a lot of distance to go. So went to my van, waited for them to load me up, and this is a building supplies sort of place, and some of the stuff can be quite big, large, long, like sort of boards, and I had 5 stops to deal with, so I was a bit anxious about the order I'd get the stuff. But the lady in the office had numbered the stops on the paperwork, and I told the forklift driver I had 5 different stops and this is the order. So he brought them out to me, basically in the order that I was delivering them, which wasn't quite right. He did, to be fair, bring the last stop out to me first, so that was really helpful, which is a pallet. Just stuck that by my bulkhead, that fit in really nicely. Then the next thing was a single item I put on top of that pallet for my first stop. And then the other 3 stops in the middle, he brought them out in a few strips, and we managed to get it all on okay. It was a bit of a faffing, but there's plenty of volume. It was just a question of putting stuff at an angle and getting it in there. But it was all in there, and I knew I'd familiarised myself with what it was, and the paperwork was quite clear. So on this particular paperwork, it tells you in words what the items are, which a layperson can understand. Whereas I've had other paperwork where it's just like codes and technical language, and you don't understand what you're taking. But this was quite clear. I knew each stop what the item was from the paperwork, so even if I forgot, I could just refer to the paperwork. So at this point, we got loaded up. It was 5 to 9, so I was there for sort of half an hour, 35 minutes getting this sorted out. And at this point I still didn't know, have I underpriced this or is this the right price? So I made my way to my first stop in Oakham, and from Peterborough it was only about half an hour away. And I arrived on site. It was one item to a residential place, and the first thing that went wrong is there was no one at home. I called the number, so every piece of paperwork had a mobile number on it for the customer, which I thought was very useful, and their name. I called the number, no answer, went to voicemail 3 times. So I made a decision that I think the best thing to do here is to leave this item in a safe place in this house. It was at the end of a long cul-de-sac. There was nobody going to wander past, and I could hide it behind the bins. So I checked with the shipper, could I do that? He rang the customer, as in the customer supplying the goods, and then he confirmed that I could do that and take some photos. So all very easy in the end, bit of about 5 minute delay, but I was off site onto my next stop. So next stop was in Cambridge, and that was an hour journey from Oakham. This second stop was a bit complex because it was in the city centre, and it was a retail unit being sort of redeveloped, and it was near the train station in Cambridge. And I managed to I rang the customer on the way, he answered the phone, he directed me in, I found where they were, got offloaded, he signed my card, nice and easy. Then the next stop was in the Science Park in Cambridge, and it was about 25 minutes away, 20 minutes away. So I drove there. I couldn't find the place because I was given a number, and when I found the number, it didn't exist. So the number was number 30 I was given, and it went from 28 to 34, and then it went to the 300s. So I rang the number, and the number was an invalid number. I think I had too many digits in the number, and there was too many doubles. There's about 3 lots of double numbers for me to try and guess which one had been replicated, if that was the problem. So I used my initiative. I looked around for somewhere where there was some building work going on, and I drove to the closest place to where number 30 would have been logically if it had been in number order. Found some workmen working, and I asked them, is this item for you? And these items for you? And they said, no, it wasn't. And I said, do you know of anywhere else where it could be? And they said, there was some building work going across opposite. So I came out, drove around the road, and I could see a massive load of scaffolding over this entire building, and what I was taking was roofing material. So that was a logical place to go and try next. So I eventually found the right place. I got a workman to come to help me, and he didn't know much about what was going on, but he took me to the site office. Now the site office was not in any way labelled. It wasn't a very clearly labelled site at all. It was a porter cabin just off a car park, and the guy there did know what it was, and it was for them. And it turned out that the actual address was 330, not 30. So I was in the right place. Luckily I didn't have to waste too much time. Got offloaded, and that was done by 20 past 11. Next stop was on the outskirts of Cambridge. Was it a village? It was a house, sort of on the suburbs of Cambridge, I would say. And I went to the house. There was 3 cars outside this house. I parked up, knocked on the door, rang the bell. No answer. There were lights on in the house, so I kept knocking on the door, looked around the house a bit. There was no obvious. In the kitchen there was obviously work going on, but there's no workman there at all. And eventually someone came to the door, and he said, can you leave the items there, I'll put them in the garage later. I got him to sign my piece of paper, went back to the van. By the time I came back, he closed the door, put the paper on the floor. I'm guessing he was in the middle of something like a meeting or a phone call, so I didn't answer the door originally. So I got that all offloaded. Luckily it was large stuff, but it was light. I had to do one at a time. There were 3 items, and I couldn't do them all in one go, but I could do one at a time. Then my last stop was Fulbourn, sort of South Cambridge, not very far away. So I finished that 4th stop at 11:45, and then I went to my last stop, which was business in the village of Fulbourn. Parked up. It was quite busy. Got offloaded, the pallet offloaded quite quickly after they set out with somebody, and I was off that site at 10:12. So in the end, I left the house at 7:45. I finished the last of the 5 stops at, let's say, 12:15. That's a total of 4.5 hours. And I made £135. I worked that out as being exactly the equivalent of £30 per hour. And so actually, that's exactly what I want to earn. My day work, if I was doing it hourly, is £30 an hour. And so I felt that job, although as well as it being quite well paperworked, as it were, paperwork was clear and names and numbers, as well as that, the job itself was reasonably nice to do. So if that comes up again, I would definitely do that job again, or a job like that from that company. And I know vaguely what to charge. Charging kind of works. The reason why it's charged based on my figure on £30 per hour is if I worked for 10 hours at that rate, I'd earn £300, and usually take off the fuel, that means I'll earn about £250 after fuel for a day's work, and that's basically perfect for me. So ideally, that's my rate of pay per hour. I don't often get it, but that's what I'm aiming for. Right, so it was 12:15. I was really hungry because I hadn't had time to prepare any food for that day, so I took myself off to a local Tesco, got some food, and then ate that in a lay-by while I looked for jobs. And nothing came up in the first hour, so I drove, or first half an hour, so I drove myself north by 13 miles to Cambridge Services. I wasn't looking to go south at this point, and a lot of the work from where I was sort of heading towards London, or Essex. A lot of it was going to Essex, sort of Colchester, Chelmsford, Southend-on-Sea, and Braintree. I didn't want to go there, so I went further up north. I was hoping to get something from Huntingdon or around the area, or Cambridge going west or north. Stayed at Cambridge Services, used the toilet, and then I was looking for a job, and nothing came up for another hour and a half. So now it was 2:30. I was getting quite weary by this point. I was putting bids on, but I wasn't winning stuff, and there wasn't a lot of work, but it was sort of just difficult. And then a job came up, which was the best job I'd come up with for a long time. It's going from Sandy, which is half an hour away, to Corby. So this was at 2:30. I got myself to the pickup point at 3:05. It was just a single box. Got loaded up, made my way to Corby. It was about an hour and a quarter's journey with traffic. Got there at it was 14 miles dead. The actual journey was something like 54 miles loaded, and I put a bid on £50, £50. And my hope was I was hoping to get a job from Corby, just to at least get a bit more money before I went home. And on my way to Corby, I was feeling quite tired, and I was hopeful that I'd get a job. When I finished the job at 4:20, I was off site, parked up in a lay-by. I was looking for jobs, and there wasn't very much. There was a job going from Stamford to Nottingham. I was half an hour from Stamford. I put a bid on that. I was almost certain I was going to get that job. Put a bid on it. I even made my way towards Stamford at this point. This was about 5:20. It had to be picked up by, no, it was about 4:30. It was picked up by 5:05. I was half an hour away, so I would have got there by 5 o'clock. So I made my way, rather than waiting for them to call me, I made my way towards Stamford, mainly because that was my way home anyway. I thought I'll make my way in that general direction, and if something comes up in Corby, I can always go back. I had a couple of jobs from Leicester, but they were just staying in Leicester, and that was taking me like a half an hour, 3/4 hour the wrong direction. So I carried on getting towards Stamford, hoping I get this job. I was thinking, should I call them? But I thought, well, I'm the only driver. I looked in Stamford itself. There's nobody in Stamford. I was the closest driver, even though I was half an hour away. I put a bid on it. My bid was really fair. I thought it's £60 for a long wheelbase job going up to Nottingham. I can't remember the mileage. Just something like 48 miles, something like that. And I thought it's a fair price. There's no one else around to do it. I'm on my way in that direction, and so I should get this job. But I didn't get a call, and I was debating whether I should call them or not. And in the end, I sort of talked myself out of calling them. And then I got to Stamford, and the job had gone. But it took about 15, 20 minutes for it to go. And I can't work out if it was cancelled or whether it was sold. There was no other driver that I could see on the maps heading towards Stamford. I did have a quick look out for that. So anyway, I lost out of that. I got to Stamford. I was only sort of half an hour away from home, so I thought I'll go home now then. So that's the end of my day. So that was a really poor outcome to my day, and I'm going to give my stats on my video back because I've not prepared them, and I'm nearly at dialysis. But I will just quickly touch on the few things I was going to talk about that I noted on this yesterday. And the first thing was, I sort of thought about this throughout the day, and I thought, in the morning I was going to work and I was thinking, I really enjoy this job. It's so stress free. So I got my first job. I was on my way to Peterborough to pick it up, and it was nice weather, and I just thought, this is such an easy, nice job to do. I'm so glad I do this job for a living. And then in the afternoon, when I was sort of not getting my second job or on my way to Corby, I was thinking, oh, this isn't very pleasant, is it? I'm not earning enough money, and this job isn't very. I'm quite tired now. But then I thought, why do I like this job so much? There is ups and downs in this job, like there is in all jobs, but why is this job so appealing to me? And then I thought about it in these terms. The worst things about my job at the moment are things that are just, they come and go. Like getting stuck in traffic, or being confused about dropping off point or picking up point. But they are stressful in the moment, and they do produce some anxiety, but they're solved within 5, 10 minutes, half an hour at most. They're solved. So they're not long lasting. The stresses come and then they go. Whereas in my old jobs, a stress would just linger for days, hours, days, or even weeks. It's a whole different level of. I wouldn't even call it stress. It's a low level level of anxiety, I suppose, or stress that you deal with. You deal with it, it goes. And every day is a new day. I don't worry about the day before or the next day when I'm doing this job. Whereas in other jobs, you do just worry about what's upcoming. On a Monday morning, I'm looking forward to working. Whereas I've never been the case in other jobs. You always think on a sort of Monday morning, I can't do this anymore. This is really boring or annoying or stressful. So it's a whole different level of stress that's just not. It's just so much easier to deal with. The lows in this job are they're not long lasting, and they're not that even low. They're just bumps in the road that you can deal with and you get on with it. And I think that's the difference between this job and other jobs. That providing I can financially survive, the actual job is just so stress free, and it's so easy. And I think it's easy because it's easy for me and my character. I was thinking about this as well. When you are thinking about doing a job like this, often you're asked, do you like driving? if you'd asked me before I did this, do I like driving? I said no, I don't like driving, because in my mind, driving is changing the gear, moving the steering wheel around, the physical act of operating the vehicle. But actually, what I think people mean by do you like driving is actually something else. I think what they really mean is, do you like being in the car or van by yourself for long periods of time and travelling around the country? And that's what I think they mean by driving. Well, that's what I take from it, at least. And if you said to me, and that's the bit I love about this job, being on my own, driving around the country, I don't like the actual, I don't mind, I'm ambivalent about the act of driving my vehicle. It just happens in the background, I don't really think about it. So the actual driving I don't get any enjoyment from, I don't get any stress from. But what I do like is the stress-free nature of just driving around the country from one place to another with very little to worry about, just having my own thoughts and my own sort of mind. And if you're happy in your own thoughts, it's a great job. But if you're not happy in your own thoughts, or if other people's actions on the road affect your emotions, this isn't the right job for you. I don't let other people's actions affect me in how I feel, in terms of just generally in life, but especially on the road. So I don't feel that someone cutting me up, or speeding past me, or right up close behind me. It's just so I can deal with. If it annoys me, I'll let them pass me, or I'll move away, or I'll slow down and stop. No, I don't stop, to be honest. But I could do that if I got really annoyed. But I don't let other people on the road get my emotions down. So that's what I think means I'm suited to this job. It's not a hard job to do. It doesn't really tax me, but it keeps me interested. The other aspect of this job I really like, and is the kind of problem-solving nature of it. There's a lot of things you have to sort of think about. Where do you need to go? What do you need to price? You know, what would be a strategy you could operate today? And that's like constant sort of bit of problem-solving and thinking about it. So I do think about it a lot, but not in a kind of negative emotional way. It's much more of a logical, rational way, and I like that. I'm good at that. So if you're very logical and rational, this is a great job for you. You can try new things out. I can experiment almost every day. You know, I'm experimenting on this day, Monday, with doing a sort of a mini multi-stop route. How's that going to pan out? And then try and stay local and not go too far away from home. Or if I was to go away from home, could I get back in time? Would it make the money? I was even contemplating going up to Newcastle. I worked out a bid that would mean I'd get my £300 and I'd get back in time, but even if it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't really want to do that, but I was sort of thinking about was it an option. So anyway, that's my first point. It is an amazing job to do, even when it's difficult to find work. It's just a momentary blip. But the next day, when I'm at work, tomorrow morning I'm at work, I will look forward to it. I'll be looking to try and get a job this afternoon, and hoping to get a good price job, going to a nice area, and that's all part of the kind of enjoyment of this job. Now I've written down another note, and I cannot read what it is. I've written down the word phone calls, but I can't remember why I wrote that down. Hi there, I'm back. I didn't remember that the clocks went back this weekend, and so it's a lot darker than I thought it was going to be, which is going to make videos moving forward even harder to do in terms of on the same day. So here are my stats for Monday the 28th of October. Based on an average fuel price of 13.51 pence per mile, I drove 231 miles, 231. I worked in total for just a little bit less than 10 hours. I managed to grind out £180, 180, and that is from 2 CX jobs. My fuel costs for the day were £31.21, and that means that I made net of fuel £149. So yeah, that was my day, and I'll have to tag this on to the end of my last video and then get it out probably tonight. So I hope that you're all surviving, at least. I hope that you are being successful, however you choose to define that word for yourselves. Thank you for listening to this video. Farewell, friends.